This is interesting because I have a lot to say about basically everything on your list.
And I don't think I have much to say about anything on your list. Welcome back to Pride and Accomplishment. My name is Chris.
And I'm Jason. This is episode 93.
Jason, we have this tradition now. We've got the third annual game spending episode in the books here, and then we decided what should we do, and we talked about this last time a little bit, that we should go into our what are we looking forward to for 2023 episodes. So here we are.
Yeah, I don't know that we've done this 3 years in a row, mostly because we couldn't find the show notes very easily for last year. Maybe we did it in 2021. I don't remember, but we did it 1 year, and I really liked it. And it if you go back and listen to that episode and then watch what happened throughout the year, none of it actually panned out. So I thought it would be an interesting thing to do again.
Yeah, I think it's a good exercise for us to kind of crystallize what we're looking forward to in the gaming year kind of at the beginning. And then we can do a little bit of a mid-year check-in around the anti-E3 time in the summer.
Yeah, and I wonder if we will be better. Now, we've gotten a lot more retrospective in our gaming because we do this podcast. And I wonder if by doing this exercise over and over, if we're getting better at it.
I certainly think that I am a lot more, shall we say, realistic about the games that I'm interested in and the games I will actually play. Because there certainly are things where I watch the big budget reveal stuff and then I, look at that and say, oh my gosh, that looks like such a cool game. And then I have to take a step back and look at myself in the mirror and say, that looks like such a cool game, but will I play that game? Do I need to own that game? Am I going to buy that game? And that's kind of where all of that has started to crystallize for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it was interesting because this year, I think if you go back and listen to whatever episode we did before about, on this topic, I was much more optimistic about which games I was going to get to that year. A lot of single player games, right? And I'll just do something real fast here and say, spoiler alert, Star Wars Jedi Survivor is not on either of our lists. I was gonna put it on my list, right? I'm looking forward to that game in 2023, but I know myself enough to know I'm not gonna play it. I didn't finish the first one. I'm not gonna play it, so it didn't make the list this year. And I think I'm more realistic about that than I used to be.
Right. Yeah. There was certainly a time. And this all goes back, you can kind of trace it through this whole podcast, actually, right? Because we started off just totally free for all. Now we have the 2-hour rule, that if you aren't going to play it within 2 hours, you shouldn't buy it, even if it's on sale. And that really arose from the kind of hoarding of games that were oh, yeah, I think I probably want to play that someday. And then you look at that and you're like, well, I never did. So what was the point of getting that? Or I played it for a half hour, at some point just because I saw it on my list. Those decisions. And then we talked about the game spending, and that had started to, give us a lot of perspective, I think, on the things that we were buying and actually playing. So I feel like we're growing up here, on the P&A podcast.
Let's dig into it. So we put together a list of, it started as 3 things we're looking forward to in 2023. And Chris and I have mutually decided that 3 is not enough. But we did want to keep a cap to it. We always want to make sure that at least we're trying to, make it somewhat restrained, because we could talk about everything we're looking for. I mean, I'm looking forward to Jedi Survivor, right? But it shouldn't be on the list because I'm not going to get to it. It's not exciting enough for me. I'm not going to buy it. So we tried to limit it to just 5 things. We both have honorable mentions, so we both broke that rule. We'll get
it's
there.
Okay. That's fine.
It's okay. But what we're going to do is in a very, very loose order, go from what we're excited about to what we're most excited about for 2023. I would say mine's really hard near the top of the list to kind of quantify that, but it's generally there.
Are we going to go back and forth? Is that kind of the idea here?
I think that's a good idea. And I think the last time we did this episode, we had a lot of overlap. This year, there's no overlap. There's like nothing. There's maybe one thing that I'm kind of seeing in there that is a little bit of an overlap, but I'm so surprised by our lists being so different.
Yeah, it is kind of wild to see that like we don't have, but also I think we've, as mentioned previously, we've put a little bit of a kibosh on the Destiny 2 side of things, and that would have been on both of our lists if we weren't trying to be hyper realistic about that this year.
I am looking forward to Destiny 2. Can we start there? I am looking forward to Lightfall and Destiny 2. I will not be buying it. I will not buy it.
You said it here.
I'm telling you, and I'm telling everyone that listens to this podcast, I'm not buying it.
You want to put a qualifier on that? Like not buying it in the first quarter, like not buying it in the first year, like ever?
No, because then I'll start to wheel and deal with myself and I'm not buying it. I didn't play the last one. I'm not going to play this one.
That is completely fair, and I agree with you.
It's such a good, like the gameplay is just so good though, and it always brings me back, but I'm not getting this one. We've got too many other things on this list that I am going to enjoy, that I am going to play, that I'm not going to regret purchasing.
Good. All right. That's settled. Destiny 2 is out. If they announce a Destiny 3 though, we'll talk.
Okay, on that topic, I'm going to get started because the first game on my list is something that I'm not necessarily going to buy.
Okay, how does that work?
It's in a very similar situation to Destiny, and then I'm keeping a very close eye on it, but I'm not entirely sold on it yet. I am very, very interested in the news and the hype surrounding it. I am paying very close attention to Starfield.
That's that new Bethesda open world space thing, right?
Yes, everyone has said such good things about Fallout. I was never a fan of Fallout. I was never a fan of the setting. I never got engrossed in the lore of the vaults and Fallout. Starting fresh from zero in a new kind of world of Starfield on the ground with everyone else, I am more inclined to pick it up and to start there. I am much more engrossed in the like space sci-fi like setting and lore kind of foundation. So it is looking much more appealing to me than Fallout, and everyone has always said such good things about Fallout. So it's essentially Fallout in space. Like that's like at its core, that's what it looks like to me. I am not completely sold yet that I trust Bethesda to produce a good game, particularly upon release. So I am cautiously optimistic. I am watching it. I suspect that by the end of 2023, I probably will have purchased Starfield, but I'm riding the line here, but I am very excited about the hype. I'm very excited about the videos coming out. I am watching everything related to Starfield. I will be watching reviews, and this is going to be one of those games that I'm probably not going to pre-order, but I will most likely pick up before the end of the year.
Starfield is one of those games that looks like an amazing concept, and it looks like it's going to be really cool. But when I am honest with myself about whether or not I would actually sit down and play it, I really have to say no. Because it is single player, right? Like it's just single player.
Yep. It's just single player.
And that's something that I don't think I would really get into, because I'm not going to sit there and play a 100-hour RPG of spacey things at this point in my life.
Yeah, I have a feeling if I did play Starfield, this would be one of those games that I like didn't 100%, didn't, do everything, didn't do all the side quests, didn't do all the exploration. I don't know that I would beeline the main story, but I would probably, like when I played Mass Effect, I played everything. I played every side quest. I talked to every NPC. I looked at everything. I went to every planet. I don't know that I 100%ed all the collectibles, because collectibles aren't really my thing, but I did every piece of what I would consider content. I don't know that I would do that with Starfield. But I am really interested in the game. And I think, the whole, like, they've talked about the space combat. They've talked about building your starship. Yeah, I'd be interested in those things. I don't know that I would continually refine that and do it over and over again, maybe have 10 ships. And I don't think that would be my thing, but I would certainly engage with those systems and play the story through, and do a little bit of side questing, right? The side questing that kind of piques my interest. But I have heard what I'm hearing is that you can get through Starfield in a shorter amount of time, right? 30 to 40 hours, which that's a standard single player game to me.
Yeah, that's much more reasonable. I mean, I am coming at this too. You mentioned Fallout. I platinumed Fallout 3 on the PS3, so I was a big fan of Fallout 3. I have Fallout 4, and I don't think I've really played more than a couple hours of it. I just couldn't get into it as much as I did in Fallout 3, and I think that's just based on, again, where I am in my life and like what's going on, and am I really going to sit down and do that? If I have the opportunity to sit down and play games online with friends, am I going to sit down and play games by myself? That all could change if the PS5 actually gets like Discord support, and I could play and chat with people like on the PlayStation, because Xbox just got that, and I played with somebody who was using it, and it was really good. So if PlayStation can do something similar, that may entice me to do a little bit more PlayStation gaming while chatting with people on Discord. So not to say that would make me play Starfield, but that type of game, or the big, long single-player games. And spoiler alert, I do have a couple of those kinds of things on my list, optimistically. So we'll see when I get there what we're thinking. Speaking of my list, my first thing on my list is a weird one, but a very on-brand for me kind of game, which is Pikmin 4. So again, we're ranking these things from least to most excited. And while I am pretty excited about Pikmin 4, like very excited about Pikmin 4, I have really hard time mustering up enthusiasm about basically anything on the Switch at this point.
Oof.
And that is unfortunate. Because I really like Pikmin, and I do really like those games, and it's like a real-time strategy game with the little Pikmin dudes, and there's a time trial to it, which is actually the part I like the most, is the challenges that they had put into Pikmin 3, where you could do these like time challenges to get different amounts of treasure, basically, and you could 100% those, and those are super fun. I love it. It's very repeatable. It's very like you can learn it, and you can do it, and get good at it, and all of that. And it's bite-sized, and it only takes 15 minutes, so that's also a big plus. Pikmin 4, very much looking forward to it. I do, unlike Jason, know where my Switch is, so I will be able to play it. But I just can't put it higher on my list because it is like on the Switch.
That's interesting that's why it's placed where it is. I will say I saw Pikmin 4 as we were kind of researching for this episode, like looking through all of the lists and whatnot coming out in 2023. I saw Pikmin 4 on the release schedule, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a Chris game right there. It's going on his list.
Absolutely.
And I'm pretty sure I called it out to you. It's funny that's your brand. I don't know. I when I say what does Chris play and what is he like, I don't think of Pikmin 4 or Pikmin. But then as soon as I see it on a list, I was like, that's for Chris.
It has the right balance of real-time strategy and like bite-sizedness to it. I actually don't like the story in Pikmin games all that much. Like I think it's kind of juvenile and not really for me, because it is. But like I like the gameplay. Like I really like you get the Pikmin, you go and use them to solve puzzles, like especially in the time trial things is really fun to me. It also has some kind of fun multiplayer modes, so that's something that I can play with my wife, and we actually both enjoy it because it's approachable enough that she can succeed and sometimes beat me, which is good. Even when I'm full bore trying, like absolutely, there's no letting anyone win here. This is actual competitive, attempting to win. The Pikmin, they have this bingo multiplayer mode where you have to find certain things and get them and bring them back to your base. Like it's a little bit of luck of the draw, but like still it's very approachable and a very fun multiplayer that's pretty low stakes. So for all the things I've said about it, I really do. I like Pikmin, and I've got it here lowest on my list, just mostly because of the platform, mostly because of the hardware, and I don't play the Switch like hardly ever. So it's hard for me to get excited about stuff on the Switch.
I will say, I mean, it's lowest on your list, but it still made your list, right? Like, it's not least excited to most excited. It's excited to most excited.
That's true. That is very true. I could put a lot of things in the least excited category.
Okay, we were talking all about single-player games, playing alone, maybe with one other person, Starfield, Pikmin, whatever. The next game on my list is all about playing with other people, and it harps back to that like style of play that I really gravitate towards when we really get a good group of people playing together, like in Space Engineers or in when we were playing Ark, or those servers that we would set up and just play together for like a month or whatever. I really, really liked those experiences. And there's a game coming out that I think feeds directly into that. I'm pretty sure we've talked about it on the podcast before, but Palia is potentially coming out in 2023. I don't know for sure. They haven't really announced it, but pretty much everyone is anticipating that it will come out sometime in 2023. Palia is, I don't know, it's an MMO-ish kind of, in the same way that Ark is an MMO. Ark's not really, in my mind, Ark's not really an MMO. It's, server-based, and you can have a private server, and, it's kind of like Minecraft, where you can have your own world, or you can join a giant world. Like, it doesn't really fit the definition of MMO for me, but they're marketing it as kind of an MMO. But to me, when I describe Palia to someone, it's Animal Crossing meets Stardew Valley meets Disney Dreamlight Valley meets Minecraft, maybe. I don't know. It's weird, but it's essentially just everyone has fun together in a 3D Stardew Valley type scenario. And you work together and you do stuff and you build stuff, and maybe there's a little bit of Valheim in there. I don't know. But I'm just looking forward to this because I think it hits all of the points that all of this one friend group really likes. And I'm excited to see whether everyone will pick up on it. I'm pretty sure it's also going to be free to play. With cosmetic purchases. I'm not 100% on that. I'm not sure, but I seem to remember that that's what they were targeting. So that makes it really low barrier to entry for all of our friends. I'm excited to see whether this becomes a thing for us, and it won't be forever, right? It's one of those things that we're all going to play for a month and then we're going to drop, just like we do with Space Engineers. But for that month, that'll be really fun. And I'm looking forward to when that happens.
Yeah, I just checked the website, and it is going to be free to play with monetized cosmetics. So that sounds cool. We can give it a shot. I don't know. When you said that it was like Minecraft, that was actually a turnoff for me. And you can go back and listen to our episode about Minecraft, because things like that, where people just kind of run off and do their own thing, is not really the reason that I would play games with people. So like, hopefully there's a little bit more collaborative building or town making or farming or whatever, so that it kind of brings all the people together to have a common goal. But I'll be there when it comes, especially because it's free to play. So let's do it. For me, the next thing on my list is kind of a remake, kind of a spiritual successor to a game that I've played, and Jason has played with me actually, that I really enjoyed, and I think he didn't hate, called Dungeon of the Endless, and the sequel game is called Endless Dungeon. Very original name there.
Yeah, they're really stretching.
Yep. So the Endless Dungeon is basically a full rendered 3D top-down version of this game that was like a 2D pixel art game, but it's like a roguelite game where you have to open these doors into these rooms and then battle monsters, and there's a little bit of like tower defense to it and everything else. So it's a really fun mix. It's got kind of all of the genres that I really like in games. It's got roguelite, it's got tower defense, it's got dungeon crawling a little bit. So all of that stuff is really right up my alley. And I played one of the alphas for this, or one of the betas or something, and it was pretty fun. It was a little weird to kind of control these things in full 3D. And I think I was trying to do it on the Steam Deck, which it was not optimized for, so that was a little bit rough. But when I have my full-on gaming rig, which I have now, but when I'm playing it on a full-on gaming rig, it should be fine. And hopefully, I can convince Jason to give this a try with me.
I'm pretty on board with this. I don't think it didn't make my list, but I was signed up for the beta. I didn't end up playing. You're right. I don't think I enjoyed Dungeon of the Endless as much as you did, but I did enjoy it. I thought it was cool. I liked the style. Is this a twin stick shooter? Is that how you play this?
That's not how you play it, the other game, but that's how you play this one, I think. Yes, there's like a little bit more real time to the real time aspects of it, because it's like combination of turn based and real time. So you have like the turn based stuff, you're like setting up your towers and doing strategy stuff, and then you kind of kick off a wave of monsters, and then you have to fight back the monsters until they're gone, and then you keep going to explore the dungeon. So yes, I believe that the remake here, or the sequel, is a twin stick.
Okay, I'm really drawn to that. You know that I like twin stick shooters. The gameplay that I've seen reminds me a lot of Helldivers, or at least the real time aspect of it reminds me a lot of Helldivers. I know it's not like that, but Helldivers is always what I think of when I think of a twin stick shooter, just because I really liked it and no one else did, and I feel, I don't know, I want it to be a thing, and it's not. But I'm into this. I think when you decide to go for it, I'm there with you. You can actually get this game now in early access. Can you not?
Yeah, so they announced a release date for May 18th of this year. And if you pre-order it now, you get some kind of early access to it. I am busy with other things right now, so I'm not pre-ordering it. But if I was in more of a pre-ordering mood, I totally would pre-order this one.
You just let me know. I'm right there with you on this one. Okay. I don't know that I'll enjoy it as much as you do, but I will certainly buy it and try it when you're ready.
Cool. Yeah, maybe we can get a group together, because I think the original one was up to 4-player co-op. So assuming the netcode is better on the sequel, and it still has 4 players, maybe we can get a bigger group together.
Speaking of 4-player co-op.
What?
Wow. Did you see that transition? That was good.
I didn't even plan that, I promise.
No, I know, because you don't even know what this game is.
That's true.
The next game on my list is Wayfinder. And we actually talked about Wayfinder during when they were doing all of those was it not the Summer Games Fest, but the like the E3 type, like big showcases.
Right, yeah.
They were doing all of them, and Wayfinder was announced, and I really liked what I saw. Wayfinder is a 4-player co-op, kind of like, I don't even know how to describe it. I don't know. Go watch the trailer. But the reason I'm excited for it is a couple of reasons. One, it's very clearly a co-op game. It's very clearly like a PvE co-op game. And the other reason I'm really excited for it is it's being published by Digital Extremes, which is the same publisher as Warframe. And while the combat and the gameplay doesn't really look like Warframe, I'm really a fan of how Digital Extremes kind of puts their games together, how they monetize them, how they think about games, how, what the influence they're trying to have on the gaming industry. I really like them as a publisher. So I'm excited about that. The biggest thing here is it's a co-op game. It looks fun. It's a third person, gotta always throw that in there. And I suspect that I will enjoy the gameplay based on what I've seen. So I'm looking forward to this. I don't know if it's free here. I don't know how they're monetizing it from a purchase standpoint. If I had to guess, I would say it's free to play, but I don't actually know. But I will be picking this up. I will be trying this game, and I hope others will too. I guess I don't know, depending on the barrier to entry.
Yeah, it looks like it's free to play. Also looking at their website, but they're just now starting to get into like alpha tests now. So I don't know that they have any sort of release date planned at the moment, but they have a lot of cool concept art on their website.
Yeah, it seemed like when they announced it last year that it sounded like maybe by the end of 2023. Like a lot of the newsy articles around it suspect end of 2023. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know for sure. It's on my list because I hope and think it may come out in 2023.
Speaking of third-person games,
okay, all
right. A little weaker, but speaking of games that are played in third person, the next thing on my list is one that I literally just learned about today and instantly went to the middle spot of my list. So the game is Star Trek Resurgence. So Jason and I and a couple other friends have been watching most of the Star Trek shows that have been coming out on Paramount Plus, and I think we've discussed them on the show a little bit before. So I've always been a big Star Trek fan. like not a huge Star Trek fan, but like I've always liked Star Trek. And this kind of watching of all of the new shows has kind of reinvigorated that for me a little bit. And they're starting to make a lot of decent Star Trek content, like just out in the world. And this game, Star Trek Resurgence, is what I look at and see and think it's Mass Effect, but Star Trek. So it's a third-person RPG, single-player, branching story, multimodal gameplay kind of a thing that to me looks a lot like Mass Effect. Now, we can all remember that I, much to Jason's chagrin, have not really played Mass Effect, but this might be the thing that gets me in the more of the Mass Effect direction, kind of like we're talking about Starfield, getting him in the more Fallout direction. So it's set in the time frame right after the Next Generation movies, so kind of the TNG time frame. And I have high hopes for this. I have not really seen any media about it, so maybe I'm sorely misled, and I will certainly wait for reviews and things because there's no kind of FOMO to this game because it's not online. So I will wait and see on this one. But I am very intrigued by this concept, and I think that game developers have been getting better at making this kind of game lately, so I have high hopes for it.
I agree. I think they're getting better at this. I think that a lot of franchises are starting to realize that video games are a completely valid and particularly good way to tell stories.
Yes, absolutely. Which
maybe wasn't as recognized 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. So I'm excited. I think this is going to be an interesting one to watch. I probably won't pick it up just because I'm not going to overburden myself with single player games I'm not going to play this year. But I'm interested in your review of it. This is one of those ones that I think is squarely on your list and not on mine. But you are probably the bigger Star Trek fan of the two of us. And I am excited for you to try this. I'm excited for you to experience a game like this and then let me know how it goes.
Let's just hope it's a good one, because if it's a bad representation of the genre, then that would be bad as well.
Yeah, you would never see another one ever again. So hopefully it's good, and hopefully it leads to a whole series of games like this. What did the production quality look like to you when you looked at? I mean, I assume you spent like 2 minutes with it, but did it look like at least decent level of graphics and well produced and good, ish?
Kind of. I mean, it does have a little bit of a risk of most of the Star Trek games do, where it's a little bit low frame rate and kind of cheesy looking, but I think this one's better than they have been, of course. And I'm hopeful for it, but it does have kind of a Knights of the Old Republic look to it a little bit.
Is it weird that we associate Star Trek games with low poly, low frame rate? That's exactly what I think of. When I think of Star Trek Online, or I think of any other Star Trek game, I think low poly, low frame rate.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't really low poly. They have a really good looking, I don't know if it's supposed to be Spock or not, but Vulcan guy who does look pretty good. But then all of their space stuff is kind of lower poly. It's not super highly textured and all of that. So I don't know. I mean, yes, I know exactly what you're saying in terms of what things look like, because I remember the old PS2 Star Trek games, which I never really played, but I always kind of was aware of. So it does have a very much a Star Trek game look to it, which is a little bit unfortunate, because I think if you took that and went full on, whatever, take your best game engine, highest quality textures and really go for it, you could make a really cool looking Star Trek game. But I'm still really excited about it. I'm still really interested in it. I appreciate that you're interested in my review of it. We're going to have to see what's going on in the middle of the year when this game comes out, and also what the reviews look like to see if I really pick this up and sit down and play it. But maybe.
The last FAQ on this webpage is multiplayer, microtransactions, NFTs.
Oh my
and they're basically no.
Yeah, no. They say no DLCs either, which is interesting.
Yeah, I find that interesting, the way that they have to ask, that has to be part of the FAQ now. And they answered it to my satisfaction, I guess.
That answers it. So it's being made by game studio called Dramatic Labs, which is an independent collaboration of 20 plus former Telltale writers, developers, designers, artists, and producers. So Telltale did all of the Sam and Max games. They did like the Walking Dead series. They did that Back to the Future series. They have a very distinct kind of style and storytelling style. So I think I understand kind of how this ends up the way that it is. But hey, if it's a Telltale-like game in Star Trek universe, then let's do it.
Works for me. Okay. All right. Here, ready? Another transition. We're just transitioning back and forth. This is going to be great. Speaking of good story. Ready?
Oh,
here we go.
Oh, all right.
I know. Speaking of story-driven gameplay. No, I mean, it's kind of, but I wanted to list here. As I was building my list, I was looking for all of the releases of all of the games coming out in 2023. But there's a game that I already play. That I think is going to get some exciting new content in 2023. And I'm really, really looking forward to the next release that Guild Wars 2 is putting out. And what we know is coming in 2023 that I don't know that they've officially said that it's coming, but they've basically said it's coming, is the next Living World season. So we just had the End of Dragons expansion. You know, we went to Cantha. We, had the whole End of Dragons storyline, and as it is with Guild Wars 2, the next thing they release is kind of that interlude. And I have found that the interludes are better than the expansions in terms of story. I don't know why. I liked Living World Season 4 way better than I liked Path of Fire or Heart of Thorns. It was better. So I'm really, really looking forward to Guild Wars 2 Living World Season 6. I think that Guild Wars 2 has had this major revival in 2022, and we are riding that wave now. And even though I'm not playing it as much, I'm more into WoW right now. Like, that's just what's happening. I'm excited for what comes out. I'm excited for what comes next for Guild Wars 2, because I will go back and I will play it. I know, like, Guild Wars 2 is that game that I will return to for as long as it is there. I'm not actively playing it right now, but as soon as Living World Season 6 comes out, I'm going to go play it. I'm going to enjoy it. I may let it build up a little bit and let a couple of episodes come out before I go play it, but I am excited for what is possible in Living World Season 6. I think a lot of that is built up from Living World Season 4 being so good, and Living World Season 5 letting us down so hard. So I'm hoping for a return. But I don't know. I like the hype around it. I like Guild Wars 2. I like where the story is, and we'll see.
I'll play this one with you. I mean, the problem for me with all of these things is I can never keep up with you, because you always want to go way fast through all of the episodes, and I'm kind of a little bit slower, especially when it comes to Guild Wars 2 content. But for any time that I have overlap that I can do these kind of story missions, it's more fun with people to do these story missions together. Like, I'm absolutely here for it. I'm also a on again, off again Guild Wars 2 player, much to the off again side compared to you. But I've been playing since the beta 10 years ago. Like, I'm there. And I do appreciate all of the new content that comes out for Guild Wars 2, especially the story content. I'm not so much into the I guess grind aspect of Guild Wars 2 for the most part. But I do, or the end game content, like the high level content, but I do appreciate the stories, and I do appreciate kind of running through the new things that they add, the new like collectibles and achievements and all that kind of stuff. So I am also interested in this one. It's not high on my list, but I will certainly play it because, as has been mentioned before, there's no subscription fee for Guild Wars 2.
I will remind everyone that the Living World seasons is where we've gotten, in my opinion, all of the best content. It's where all of the major farms are, right, for gold farming and all of that. So it changes the meta every time a Living World season comes out, right? Right now, the best gold farm in the game is arguably a map that came out with Living World Season 5. It used to be Living World Season 4. It used to be Living World Season 3. And it used to be Living World Season 2. So every time a new Living World comes out, the meta of the economy changes. And it's interesting to watch that transition. The other thing is the sky scale came with Living World Season 3 or 4? Four, I think. And that's like the most game-changing thing in the entire game. it came with a Living World season, not with an expansion. I mean, mounts were already there, right? Mounts already existed, and they set the foundation, and they are arguably, the most dramatic change. But the sky scale, the best mount, the only one you ever really need, came with Living World Season 4. So that's what generates the excitement for me, is like, what is coming in Living World Season 6 that we do not see coming? How is the economy going to change? What are these new maps that are coming out? I mean, there's so much more to explore in Cantha, and like, I've barely scratched the surface with End of Dragons because I kind of got off of it a little fast. They've gotten so much better with strikes, particularly with challenge mode strikes, and how that generated buzz. And if they do more of that, and they add another really hard challenge mode, and it generates more buzz for the game, like, I'm excited about all that, and I want to be a part of that. So that's what I'm hoping for, what I'm looking forward to, and we'll see what happens.
While you're doing challenge mode progression, I'll be doing the second or third WoW raid progression. So I guess we'll go our separate ways at that point.
I'm not doing. I haven't even touched the challenge mode stuff on the previous content, but I don't really. In Guild Wars 2, I'm not really interested maybe in pushing that hard. But I'm excited to watch other people do it.
There you go. Okay, I see. You're waiting for the Guild Wars 2 channel to have some new shows.
Yeah.
Speaking of RPGs.
Oh, God. Okay.
The next one on my list this is really great. We're just tying these all together. There's just this interweaving. It's great. We didn't even plan this. Can you tell? Speaking of RPGs, the next thing on my list is Final Fantasy 16, which is coming out in June of this year. It's got a release date, June 22nd. I am very excited for this. I think we talked about it last year a little bit. It's returning to kind of more of a medieval setting, which my first Final Fantasy game that I really played all the way through was Final Fantasy IX, which had kind of a fantasy medieval setting. I'm a little bit, I don't know, not super excited about the combat style because I don't really like the real-time combat style in the Final Fantasy games that they've been doing with like Final Fantasy VII Remake. But I'm excited to see the story. I'm excited to see it on the PS5 because I think that they can do really cool things with the PS5. So that's going to be really fun. And this game has been coming for a while, and it's like after 15 was kind of weird, and then 14 was an MMO, and then 13 was 13. I played 13 a little bit, but 16 is really going to be, I think, the next one that I'm excited about. And if I can muster up the time to sit down and actually play it, I think I will enjoy it.
I have never been excited for a Final Fantasy game before. I never kind of was into it. But when they showed the trailer that everyone was waiting for, I don't remember when it happened, but it happened a couple months ago, and everyone was waiting for this Final Fantasy trailer. And I watched that trailer and I go, okay, I get it now. I get it. I get why people are excited. That looked so cool. And there were elements of story. There were elements of like the emotional connection with characters, everything that I look for in a single player game, right? Like why I love Mass Effect. And then I don't know any other thing with Final Fantasy. So like you say, hey, I'm not looking forward to like the real time combat. I'm looking forward to the real time combat because that looks really cool to me. And that's more, I guess, my style. That's what I like. I don't know if it's hack and slash, but it seems like hack and slash plus where you get like there's more to it than that. But at its core, it's a real time kind of melee combat kind of scenario. I could be totally off on that, but that's what I saw, and that's what I think of when I see the trailer for Final Fantasy 16. I am not committing to playing this game. I want to, and I want to try it. And I think for me, I'm going to consider this to be my first kind of introduction to Final Fantasy. I'm hoping that this is a good point to introduce myself to this franchise, because it looks really cool and a lot of people seem really excited about it. So I'm going to try it. I'm not committing to buy it, but I'm going to have a really tough time that when you're playing it, you're saying you're having a really good time. I'm going to have a really tough time not buying it.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's good. I'm going to need to, maybe I'll wait and see on some reviews because I don't really need to pre-order anything at this point. Like there's nothing I'm so hyped about that I really have to play it on day -1. But I am looking forward to this one. I do hope it's a good return to form for Final Fantasy. I'm interested in it. Other things about Final Fantasy that are swirling around for this year have me excited, just kind of in the Final Fantasy vibe. So Final Fantasy VII Remake, I still need to finish, which is also kind of a thing that's on my list. But Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is, I believe, the second part of 3 of the Final Fantasy VII Remake games, is maybe coming out this year. It's not quite announced yet. But then the real reason that I had to put Final Fantasy 16 on here was so that I could talk about the most hyped thing that I am hyped for that really doesn't have a release date or an announcement or any sort of anything whatsoever, which is the Final Fantasy 9 Remake. So as I just said a few minutes ago, Final Fantasy 9 was my first Final Fantasy game, and I really, really enjoyed it, and I was super blown away by the full motion video. It was one of those ones that came on 4 CDs back in the day. It was on 4 discs of PlayStation PS1 because it had all of these like gorgeous pre-rendered videos, FMVs, and I think it has a really, really good story, like truly a good, like you can get a good emotional connection. It's not too heavy-handed, I don't think. Like you have multiple different characters and they're all in your party and they're all there for their own reasons, and it's so good. So if there's a Final Fantasy 9 remake and you're looking for something that's got like a really good story, I would encourage you to play that. Even to the neglect of Final Fantasy 16. Not that I really know anything about the story of Final Fantasy 16 other than, to your point, the trailer looked really cool. But if there's a Final Fantasy 9 remake, that is the Final Fantasy you should play.
Are these rumors saying that Final Fantasy IX Remake would come out in 2023 or even past that?
They think it will come out in 23. Like that's kind of what people are thinking.
Oh, wow.
Because it's a smaller scale remake than Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like Final Fantasy VII, they're like turning it into its own thing. Like they're diverging from the original game and everything else. For 9, they're thinking that they will probably like remake it more shot for shot or like 1-to-1, which I think is fine, honestly. Like I don't need it to
more
be
of a remaster than a remake.
Kind of, yeah. But if they remaster it and voice act it, because that was the other thing, is the first Final Fantasy 9 was not voice acted. So if they remaster it and voice act it and bring it to modern consoles, that would be awesome. And there was sort of a leak when there was that big GeForce Now leak where they leaked a bunch of stuff. That was when they confirmed that Kingdom Hearts 4 was coming, which I don't know when it's coming. It's probably in 2030 or something at this point. But the Final Fantasy 9 was on there, and so everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, they're working on it! They're working on it." Which we don't know anything. They haven't announced it, but it's possible that they could announce something like around June E3 time to be ready by Christmas, which would be so exciting for me. They did that with Octopath Traveler.
That's a lot of Final Fantasy in 1 year.
I know, and they're kind of tacking it all on to the 35th anniversary of Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy 1. Which they're kind of celebrating like this whole year, or like 2022 into 2023, I think. So that's kind of where it could get wrapped up. But yes, Final Fantasy is really having a very strong showing lately. Oh, and they're also making a cartoon show, an animated show about Final Fantasy 9, which is the other reason that people think that like there's a strong possibility of a good remaster for it.
Is it an adult cartoon like Arcane, or is it like a kid's show?
I think it's going to be more like a kid's show.
Okay.
Arcane, man, that was a good show.
I don't know. You're making me excited for Final Fantasy. Again, I've never engaged with this franchise, this story, this whatever you want to call it. But everyone always has such positive things to say about it, and I feel like I don't want to call it missing out, but I feel like I'm like I need to give it a chance. Not that I'm actively avoiding it, but I don't know. I just never played a Final Fantasy game, so I need to find my entry into that. And I was thinking that maybe Final Fantasy 16 would be the one, but we'll see. I don't know. I will await your evaluation.
We need to find you your Dragonflight of Final Fantasy.
Yes,
to get you into it.
Yeah, what a good analogy! Like what a good analogy.
Because I really think that the earlier Final Fantasy entries would not be your thing at all. Like the turn-based, non-voice acted JRPG stuff is not a Jason game. But if they can get there with 16, then that might be what you would want to start with.
It has to be voice acted. That is a minimum That is a minimum thing for it. Like, it has to. I have tried to convince myself to try Final Fantasy 14 so many times to get into that MMO. I can't get past that. Like 3/4 of it isn't voice acted.
Yeah, no, they started since Final Fantasy 10, I want to say, not including the MMOs. They've all been mostly voice acted.
If it's a story game, but if I want to read, I'm going to read a book.
Right.
If I want to play a video game and I want to experience a story, it needs to be voice acted. And I would never be the fan of Mass Effect that I am today if it wasn't voice acted. Like, it wouldn't fit that genre. But like, I can't do it. It needs to be voice acted. So if they do Final Fantasy 9 with voice acting, if they do Final Fantasy, 16 obviously has voice acting. So like, you're right. This might now be the time for me to get into that. Because I can't do it without that.
The other thing I'll say about Final Fantasy, and you're trying to get into it, is that for as many good entries as they have bad ones. Like, it's such a long-running series, and there's so many entries into the series that people have their favorites, and then they also have the ones they hate. So you'll hear people excited about Final Fantasy, and then they'll hear people very disappointed in Final Fantasy for having done a poor job with various installations in the series. And the thing about Final Fantasy is that each majorly numbered thing is different. They're not related. It's like 9 and 16 have nothing to do with each other, and 14 has nothing to do with it. And like, they're all completely different characters in a basically completely different world, like sometimes like different planets. Like, it's a completely different story every time you have a different majorly numbered Final Fantasy game. So if you don't like the setting of one of them, like, the next one could be different or better. Like, that's kind of the deal with Final Fantasy. Even though they're all numbered, it's not like they're all sequels to each other.
I find that so interesting. And we've had this conversation before on this podcast. Like,
yes, we have.
Where's the hype for the whole Final Fantasy come from? And I don't remember the episode number. Maybe we can find it, but that was a great conversation on like, why do people like Final Fantasy as a whole when they're totally unrelated, and they're totally many of them are like totally different kinds of games, an MMO versus a single player versus a turn-based versus a real-time combat versus, all of that. And I just find that so interesting. We're not going to rehash it right now, but it's such an interesting concept to me. I don't know. I feel bad. I don't know how to transition to my last one. Speaking of old games, I don't know, whatever.
Games with large numbers after them.
There you go. A game was announced last year that I don't know that anyone saw coming. And it is a game that I played as a kid and loved and have tried to return to with emulators and things like that. And it's just not there. Like, obviously you have this nostalgic memory of a game, and when you try to go back and play it, it's just not the same. But Armored Core 6 was announced a couple months ago, and I'm fairly certain it is coming in 2023. I don't know exactly when. I couldn't pin down a date. Maybe it's out there. I don't know. But I loved Armored Core when I was a kid. I played the first one on like the PS1 or whatever. I think I played a little bit of the second one. I don't remember if I got into the third and fourth. I don't remember where I kind of trailed off, but I remember Armored Core. I remember building, God, I don't even remember what they're called. Are they mechs? Are they, I don't know. Whatever. I remember customizing it and like dealing with the weight capacity and how slow and fast and how much armor and what kind of weapons I wanted. And I remember the mission based, like you were sent on a mission to do like to different objectives. And there was kind of I have such fond memories of Armored Core. And when Armored Core 6 was announced, I'm pretty sure we were watching it together, and I got so excited. And no one knew this about me, and no one knew that I was a big Armored Core fan because it was such a long time ago. But now that it's coming out, it is my most anticipated game of 2023. I am so excited to play Armored Core 6. I'm so excited to do that again, to try it again. And it looks, from what they've released, right? I don't know if it was in engine or pre-rendered, but it doesn't matter. The the style of Armored Core, what they are showing, what they're the creative kind of genre and style behind the game is exactly what I want and exactly what I remember. And I'm so excited for it. I'm really, really excited for Armored Core 6.
I know absolutely nothing about Armored Core 1 through 5 or Armored Core 6, really. But a brief search just told me that you will be in luck to learn more about this game because there is a 20-minute long stream on February 3rd. So that's like next week. You can see it at 7 a.m. Eastern. So get up early.
I will not be up at 7 a.m. Eastern, but I'll watch the recast.
But yes, there's something to go over mechanics and things. So I'm excited that you're excited. I do not think this is my kind of thing. I mean, it could be, but I doubt it.
I doubt it too.
But I'm very excited that you're excited for this. And it's really fun when a game, like I just went on an entire rant about Final Fantasy IX, but like it's really fun when a game that you played in your kind of formative gaming years, like gets a remake or gets like attention and comes back. Like I think that's really great. And that's one of the cool things about gaming. Like people will complain about remasters and remakes, but like if these things help you to recapture the feelings that you had when you were kind of growing up and playing these games, like I think that's great.
I don't know anything about whether it's multiplayer or single player. I think there were some elements of multiplayer, or at least like couch co-op. That's not what they called it back then. Split screen. That's what they called it. When I think Armored Core 4 maybe. So I don't know if they're doing any of that. Armored Core traditionally is a single player kind of like mission based game where you customize your mech. And there's always been this element of like firepower versus weight versus mobility, and you're doing these missions. You're doing these missions as kind of a mercenary kind of style, and you earn money, and that money goes towards upgrading your mech, and that allows you to get better to do the next thing. And it's a very like customize your weapon kind. I mean, it's your whole mech, but it customize your weapon to complete these missions. And they'll tell you, like, they'll give you a briefing at the beginning of the mission on like, there's a lot of small enemies. They're very mobile. And so you can fit your mech to kind of fit the parameters of the mission. It was just really good. It was such a good, it didn't have a whole lot of frill to it. I don't remember a story at all. I don't remember anything to do with a story. It was just a very mechanical game, and I don't know. I'm ready. I'm ready for the next one. There's this small part of me that like thinks I'm going to be disappointed because I have this very nostalgic memory of it, and I'm not going to like this new one. I don't know. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it. It's going to happen. And we'll see if I like it.
Well, I very much look forward to your review on Armored Core, because that sounds like it will be interesting to see your perspective. Speaking of games we're definitely going to buy.
Okay, all right.
I know we're really stretching here, but we've latched onto a theme, and that's just I got to keep going.
I mean, you're at the top of your list, so you're definitely going to buy this game.
Exactly. Speaking of games at the top of our list, I am putting Marvel's Spider-Man 2, the PlayStation exclusive, at the top of my list for this year. I still haven't played last year's kind of big major PlayStation exclusive, that being God of War Ragnarok. So I need to get that done before this one comes out. But I really, really, really enjoyed Spider-Man for the PS4. Like, it was very good. It took me a long time to get through it. Hopefully this next time I will get a little bit more on task and move through it a little faster. But I am really looking forward to, after seeing what they did with Miles Morales and all of the gameplay they did there, which was a great, like, perfect 8 to 10 hour like weekend game. We talked about it on the show. I'm hoping that they can kind of keep the same level of like laser focus on story and like moving things forward and making it interesting for Spider-Man 2. They tweeted something about like the voice actors having to do more lines and all of these things, and it being a big game. And I think that's great. I want it to be big, but I also want it to be manageable. So I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited about them kind of going something that's going to be, I think, full PS5, like much more kind of next gen in the Spider-Man universe. And I just really like the gameplay, and I really like those games. And it's kind of like the Batman Arkham games when they were coming out. They were just like good games. So I am really looking forward to this game, and I know that I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to play it.
I've never played a Spider-Man. You have always been so excited about them, and have always given them such high praise. I think one of them just came out for PC like a month ago or two months ago, right? Or it's coming out for PC?
Yeah, I think Miles Morales just came out, and before that they had the Spider-Man, like the first one that was on the PS4 came out for PC as well. And you can play it on the Steam Deck, so now you really have no excuse.
Whoa, now you're I just you've always been so excited about them, and I've always kind of fed off of that excitement, but I've never played them. They aren't. Spider-Man is not. Oh God, I'm gonna get so much flack for this. He's not my favorite superhero. He's not anywhere close to the top of my list. I like Tom Holland and how he plays Spider-Man, and I think he's a fun side character. Oof. Yeah, that's my opinion of Spider-Man. And
bring on the emails, folks. Here we go.
Yeah. Oh God. And that's how I feel about him. And it's just the whole game around him. It doesn't do anything for me. Like when I put, and I know it's not fair, but when I put God of War Ragnarok up against any Spider-Man game, like it just doesn't compare to me. It doesn't. One of them very seriously like is something I want to play and experience, and one of them is just not interesting to me. And I don't know, that's just the way it's been. So I feed off of your excitement for this game. I liked watching you play. I did do that a little bit when I came down and visited, and we went through the game a little bit, and it was interesting, and it looks like a great game. So I hope the next one is great for you. I will not be playing this. It's so okay. So we're gonna maybe transition a little bit here. It's so interesting to me that not only are our lists totally different, but the top of our lists, neither of us are interested in the other person's most anticipated game, most excited game.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. I was thinking that as you were talking as well, because I was like, well, he doesn't really like the thing I put on my list, and I don't really like the thing he put on his list. But it is showing that we are. Although we like to play games together, we are still very different gamers when it comes down to it, and we have different preferences that are pretty unique, I would say. Or like on different ends of the spectrum.
Both number one games on our list are single player games that we have played previous iterations of. Neither of us like the other one. Neither of us is even going to try what the other one put. And we're both very excited about it. And I just find that incredibly interesting. I don't really have any more like to say about it, but I find it so, and they're like, not to mention that both of them are PlayStation games. Like they're both like PlayStation. I mean, Armored Core 6 is coming out for all platforms, but Armored Core is a PlayStation, like, it was a PlayStation exclusive for a very long time. So like, there's not even that. It's not even like, oh, I'm an Xbox kid and you're a PlayStation. Like, it's not that. I don't know what to point to as to like why our interests are so, they have this amazing crossover, but then like our extremes are so far apart. Which I don't know. It's just cool. I really, really enjoyed kind of this piece of this list making. Do you want to talk about the one game that's on both of our lists?
Yeah, the one game that's actually on both of our lists that is not actually on our list, but it's on our honorable mentions list at the top, which I think in this case means most interested, is World of Warcraft. Hey.
Yeah, this one, I mean, it had to go on there, right?
I think so, because we still have a little bit to do in WoW, right? We're both at max level. We've both been, getting the eye level incrementally a little bit here. We're leveling off a bit on our main characters because that's just how it goes. It's kind of a asymptotic kind of gear score item level thing here. But I think we're both now ready at the point where we're ready for normal rating, and I think we're very close to doing that. And I know that we will talk about it on a future episode, so I don't want to get super into it. But I am really looking forward to this year having a group to work on and like push on raids for, and like have a consistent group that gets together and like does that. And I think we found that for now, at least. And we're going to give it a shot here coming up in the next few weeks. So look forward to an episode coming soon where we can talk about some WoW raids. Yeah.
And I will mention, I'm excited for that. I'm excited to have a group. I'm excited to play together. I'm excited to push raids because it's just nothing. I've never experienced that in a game before. I've never experienced the like true raid progression. By the time I got into it with Guild Wars, the raids were on farm for most people. So I kind of got taught to farm raids is really what it comes down to. And for the challenge mode stuff in Guild Wars 2, I didn't care to push that. It just, the rewards weren't there. The vertical progression isn't there. So like the reward structure is different. I've never been a part of a progression raid. And I'm very excited to do that. I'm very excited to try that. However, the reason that I put WoW on my list might surprise you. It's not so like, why am I excited for 2023 for World of Warcraft? It's not so much the raiding. It's weirdly, I'm looking weirdly forward to the seasonal transition from season 1 to season 2, because I've never experienced that in World of Warcraft either. And I've tried World of Warcraft a number of times, and this whole mythic dungeon experience has been a lot of fun. It's been very interesting to me. The whole affix thing, the whole like, and just like, I'm very, very interested in how I'm going to feel when that resets.
Oh, you're thinking like when you don't have any rating score because you haven't done any dungeons anymore, like that whole thing?
Yes. What happens? How does what is the, I don't know. What is it like? Like, what is the gear grind? How does it affect the gear grind? How does the affix change? The dungeons switch over, the Raider IO score resets, like all of that. Like I've not experienced that reset before. And I'm used to like seasonal refreshes, right? With Rocket League and some of those other things, like where they, you have to get re-ranked and all of those things. Like I understand the concept, but I've never experienced it in World of Warcraft, particularly in that vertical progression kind of game. So it's a weird kind of excitement. It's this like, I know it's coming. And I've been playing World of Warcraft long enough now to know that like I'm going to make it to that point. And I am really excited about the rating. I am really excited to get that started. But I am like very almost anxious about that seasonal refresh.
Interesting. That's really cool to hear. I think it'll be fine. If not that matters, but the way that it tends to work, and we can get into it in more detail another time, but the way it tends to work is they move the goalposts a little bit. They bump up the highest item level. They don't bump you down. They just bump up the highest item level, and then they adjust the difficulty of the dungeons so that like a 10 on the new season is the same as say like a 12 or 13 on the previous season or something. They just make everything harder, but also bump up the item level. So it's not like you're going to be doing like plus 30s. It's like you're going to be still kind of pushing in the same 10s to 15s kind of range, but they move those goalposts a little bit so that you are more, I don't know, there's more stuff to do. It's more.
Yeah. And it's going to be a whole new set of dungeons for us.
Yes. Dragonflight is the first time that they are doing the big, like, they made 8 dungeons for the expansion, and they only put 4 of them into the season. So now they're going to, I'm assuming, put the other 4 into the season next season, and then 4 new returning dungeons, like 4 new previous dungeons, which is really exciting to me because I've played a bunch of previous dungeons. So none of the ones from this season, none of the 4 that were from previous expansions were ones that I had done before, mostly. So I'm hoping that they'll kind of get to like BFA or something like that. Like they'll go a little bit more recent in the historical dungeons that they're doing. And then I'll have a little bit of that like tribal knowledge, I guess, on like, oh man, this one used to be really hard, or this one, watch out for this thing or whatever. Like that's kind of fun when you get to be the experienced person in some of those returning dungeons. So yes, the season, I'm excited for the season to switch over. I'm afraid that we're going to have to wait a little while. I'm afraid it's going to be, early summer by the time that they actually roll it over. But I hope that we're still kind of around by that point.
We'll see. We've already talked about it a couple times, so I guess I'll just say it. It's not coming out in 2023, but I'm going to be playing it, hopefully, probably, maybe in 2023. I have not yet played God of War Ragnarok.
Me either. It's okay.
But yeah, I'm excited for that in 2023. I feel really bad about it. Like, I was so excited about it. And it's just one of those single player things that, like, so many things compete for your time. Like, now I've decided, you know, I've talked to you about this, but I'm starting to read a little bit more again. And that, I mean, they're forms of single player entertainment. Like, reading is a single player game. And I'm choosing to read a book over play God of War Ragnarok. And that's just the way it is right now. You just a limited amount of time. So I'm excited to try it and play it. And I'm avoiding every spoiler I can. Anytime anything says God of War on it, I stray very far away. And so far, so good. But this is on my list for 2023 because I will be playing it in 2023.
I will as well. It's not on my list, but it's a game that I will be playing in 23. So that's, well, we can, well, at some point, you know, in the far future, when we both finish the game, we can talk about it like a year after it's come out.
Works for me.
My other game on my honorable mentions list, and I'm sure that there are others that I've just forgotten about. And if you mentioned them or, you know, and asked me about them, I say, oh yeah, I'm interested in that too. But the one that came to mind for me, as I was thinking of like things I'm looking forward to in 2023, is a really off the wall game that is Pharaoh: A New Era. So this game comes out in like 2 weeks, but it is a remake of the original game called Pharaoh, which is a game that was sort of like the refinement of Caesar 3, which was another. I mean, these are games that were like sold in the $10 bargain aisle at Target for like Windows 98. Like they were old games, but they were like city management games, kind of, where you would have like different, you build the city and you build the roads, and then the people would kind of, you know, fulfill their little duties as like trade, whatever. And this is a game that I'm excited for, but like, if I know myself, it's like, well, that was a point in time in your life when you had a whole lot of time to play this kind of game, and like now I don't, and I'm not gonna. If I'm gonna sit down and play a game that's gonna take a bunch of time, I'm gonna play Factorio. Let's be honest. So, like, this kind of game is appealing to me just mostly for nostalgia, but they're remaking it, and I would like to try to play it, and I don't know if it's multiplayer. I think there was some like very light multiplayer back in the day, but it's a really fun little like city building game, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad that it exists.
This is an Egyptian like Banished?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Like just city management game? Is there any combat or anything like that?
There wasn't in the original, and that's why I liked it, because it was kind of an economy simulator, right? Which is like my kind of thing for this kind of game, because I don't really care to build like a bunch of armies and stuff. Like, if I wanted to do that, I'd play StarCraft, but I don't. So this was much more of an economy game, and I'm hoping that's kind of what the new one is.
I played a game like this recently, and I agree with your sentiment on like, these are the kinds of games that like take a really long time, and I just, you're right. If I'm going to choose to play a game that has like 1 hour long missions or 2 hour long missions because they're economy based, like, I don't know that I would choose to play a game like this. I see where you're coming from though. Like this, I'm watching the trailer as you were kind of talking about it, and I feel the same nostalgia that you do, because I used to play a lot of like city builder or like city management or like economy management kind of games, and watching this, I'm just like, oh, this looks amazing. This looks so cool. But I agree with you. I just don't know that I would take the time to play it. They don't have a price on it yet, but if this was like a $10 or $15 game, I would probably follow you on picking it up on sale at some point. It doesn't look like there's any multiplayer whatsoever. So, it's just interesting. This is another one of those like nostalgic games that like is getting a remake or getting a remaster or whatever. And, like our priorities have just shifted so much that like, I don't know whether I'm gonna like, whether you don't know whether you're gonna like it. And I get that feeling.
Yeah. This is one that if it ends up, it's also like Prime Humble Bundle kind of game, I think. Maybe like if they're not trying to, like, I don't know. It feels like it would be something that could be in a humble choice kind of a thing. It's also the kind of thing that, like, if it was, to your point, on sale for $10 or $15, I would pick it up almost just in support of the devs for making it, like, because I'm happy that they made it, which I know is kind of a weird thing, but like, yeah, I'm very excited that this thing is happening. I'm very excited that it exists. I don't know that I'm really going to play it, and I feel a little bit bad about that because I did really like this game back in the day.
Okay, the last two on my honorable mention, I'm just going to throw together. When I was doing my list, I searched two different things on Google. One was all of the games coming out in 2023, and then the second thing I searched was all of the MMOs kind of on the docket for 2023.
Really?
And I don't know if these are coming out in 2023, but I am keeping a very close eye on them both. The first is the game that got announced a little bit ago was, the Dune Awakening MMO. Whether it's actually an MMO or not, we still don't know. We have no gameplay. We literally have no idea what it's going to be, but it looks cool. And I am slowly getting more and more interested in the Dune lore. I thought the movie was really cool. I am eagerly awaiting the second one, which I think is also in 2023.
Yes, it is.
Part 2. So I don't know. I'm kind of there. I don't know if this is coming out in 2023 or if it's going to be a little later than that. If I had to suspect, it's going to be later than that, probably 24, 25. But I'm keeping a close eye on it. I'm interested in more gameplay, more news on it. And I will probably try it, knowing myself. Whenever it comes out, I will likely try it. The other MMO that came up, I didn't know existed. And I didn't know anything about, but it popped up and it was on like the top of a lot of lists. Apparently NCSoft, who owns ArenaNet, who makes Guild Wars 2, is coming out with another MMO, most likely in 2023. We don't know for sure, but everyone's kind of saying like maybe Q2 2023, called Throne and Liberty. And the reason I am so interested in this game is because I do like Guild Wars 2. NCSoft I'm not as big of a fan of. Like I like ArenaNet and what they do, but NCSoft is, I don't know. They've got some other things going on that I'm maybe not a huge fan of. A lot of mobile games. They're really into mobile games. But Throne and Liberty looks like another like grand scale MMO. And it's the art style is just like right there. It's that realistic kind of like really sharp kind of art style. Very similar to Guild Wars 2, very similar to like Lost Ark, where it's like very realistic kind of looking, not cartoony. And it just immediately drew me in. I don't know much about the game. I don't really know what's going on with it. I don't know the monetization, and that's what scares me the most. But I'm going to keep my eye on this. We're going to see. We're going to see where these go. So not that I need more MMOs in my life, but I do tend to really like to get sucked into an MMO every now and then. And these are two that popped up for me.
I just took a quick look at the website, and yes, it looks like it looks like Lost Ark. I mean, Lost Ark, is that the one? No, the other one. What was that game? The MMO that we played for like
New World.
A day. Yeah, New World. It looks like New World. And that to me is like new MMOs are scary because they have such a high probability of failure. But this does look pretty cool. And I mean, so did New World, but this one looks cooler than New World, I think. It looks like it might actually have a story, unlike New World.
Yeah, and that's why it's on my honorable mentions, but not on my list.
Okay, all right, fine. I'll allow it.
We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Well, I'll keep an eye on this with you. I mean, let me know if there's something I should pay attention to, but it seems cool. I had one last one that I remembered as we talked about things, which is, and I know I've talked about it on the show like 4 times, but that puzzle game Firmament from the makers of Myst is supposed to finally release in Q1 of this year. So this game that I Kickstarter purchased like 3 years ago is finally coming out this year. And I am looking forward to that, if I'm being honest. It's just I keep forgetting about it because it's been so long. So that's my last of the honorable mentions, because I don't know that I can be excited about it anymore because it's been so long.
I remember you talking about this game. Are you sure it's actually coming out? You sure it's not like vaporware at this point?
No. I have no idea. Like, and that's the thing, is it's just, I hope it is. Like, they say it is. They keep showing off art and stuff, and they keep apologizing profusely that it's not done yet. And they promised, they originally were trying to get it out by the end of 22, and now they promised it's going to come out in 23 Q1. So they've got like 6 more weeks before the end of Q1. So hopefully at some point this year we can talk about it on the show, because I will have played it.
Does it have a website? Like, where can you even buy this?
It does maybe have a website. Firmamentgame.com. Yeah, that I think is their website. It has like a trailer, and it's closed to new backers, so you'll only be able to buy it, I think, on Steam once it's out. But
okay.
It's a thing.
Interesting. I mean, I'm looking at pictures on the Kickstarter, and it looks really good.
I think it's gonna be good.
So, right, it's a puzzle game.
Yeah, it's a single player puzzle game.
Yeah, I don't know. I will keep an eye on this with you. And obviously you have it. You backed it, but we'll see. They're obviously going to open it up.
If I realize that I backed it twice, which is actually very possible, then I'll have an extra copy. I'll give it to you. But it's been so long that like I seriously had to search my email when I went to go back it. I was like, I know I heard about this a long time ago, but did I back it before? And I think I didn't, but there's a chance they're just going to send me 2 emails and like, hey, you got the 2 copies. I was like, great. I'll let you know.
Do you remember what level you backed?
I don't know, probably the middle level or something lower. I didn't get the physical rewards.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. All right, well, we'll see. I hope this comes out for you.
Yeah, because I think I'll go insane if it doesn't.
I would like to take a moment. I don't want to take too long because this has been a long episode, but I want to take a moment to note that neither of us put Hogwarts Legacy on our list.
Okay. I almost did. I almost put Hogwarts Legacy on my list, and I decided that it's another one of these games that I'm just not that excited about. Like, I'm very excited that it exists. I hope it's good. If it's really good, I might play it, but I probably won't. That's kind of my summary of that.
There is so much hype about this game. So much hype out there. So much news, so much stuff. Like, I have zero interest in this game. I don't dislike Harry Potter and the Harry Potter universe, but I'm not particularly drawn to it. There's been like, in all of the hype around this game, like all of the news around this game has me questioning whether I should be a bigger fan, but I'm not there.
I appreciate good world building, and I think I really like the Harry Potter kind of world. I really liked the books growing up, like, because I was kind of the age of Harry Potter as the books were coming out, so that was kind of cool. I'm not like a huge fan, but I appreciate the kind of, you know, the world of Harry Potter and stuff, and I like Hogwarts specifically. I didn't particularly care for the later books, but like, you know, all of the stuff around Hogwarts is pretty cool. So this appeals to me, like, on an intellectual level. You know, issues with J.K. Rowling notwithstanding, and that's a whole other thing that we're not going to talk about. But this game looks cool. I like when franchises have like a good game, and that's why everybody's so excited about it, is because this looks like the first actually good Harry Potter game. Kind of like we were talking about like Star Trek, and maybe it will or won't be good, but like, people get excited about games and franchises that they like when it looks like the game is actually finally going to be good after so many failed attempts. Because there were a lot of bad like GameCube games for Harry Potter back in the day. So I think that's why everybody is so excited about this one.
Okay. Well, I mean, this is one of those ones that like didn't make my list. I'm sure I'll keep an eye on and pay attention to, because apparently my newsfeed, my YouTube feed, my everything wants me to know about this game. I'm somehow in the algorithm for this game. So I'm sure I'll hear about it.
Yeah, I'll be keeping an eye on it, but I probably won't get it. But that's mostly a time thing, not so much a gameplay thing. My last other topic that I put in here, saying that we should probably take a minute and mention it, is that the sequel to Breath of the Wild is coming out this year. Zelda, Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom is coming out in 2023 in like May or June. And I should be excited about this. And again, similar to Pikmin, like, it's on the Switch. I'm not sure that I can get my hopes up about it. I don't know.
Did you finish Breath of the Wild?
Nope.
Nope, neither did I.
I am like halfway through. Like I have 2 of 4 of the bosses done or whatever.
Same, but I just never picked it back up.
And that's the thing is like I appreciate the gameplay. It's novel. It's interesting. It's cool. It got much better once you could like fast travel and stuff. Like I am intrigued to see what this new game is, but it's not a day one buy for me. And like, I just don't know that I'm going to care that much. If they bring back the traditional like 8 dungeons kind of a framework, I might be more interested in it, because that to me was always the fun part of Zelda anyway, was kind of like the puzzles and like the dungeon themes and all that kind of stuff was really cool to me. And they kind of broke that in Breath of the Wild. And I think that's why I didn't keep up with it as much, and everybody else was like freaking out that it was an open world Zelda game, and I just didn't really care that much. So I don't know what to do with this one. Like I'm kind of excited. I'm happy that it exists, but it's stuck on the Switch. The Switch has, underpowered hardware, as we all kind of know. If it was coming to Steam Deck, sign me up, I guess. But then it would be coming to PC, and that would be good too. But no, it's Nintendo. It's coming to the Switch. So I don't know.
And it'll never go on sale.
That's the worst part. It'll take like 5 years for it to go on sale by like $3.
You're right.
Like, oh, here it is for $67.99. Aren't you so glad that we have a sale? You're like, no, I don't care.
Oh, well.
That's the saddest part. Maybe they'll announce a Switch Pro, and then this thing will surprise come out on the Switch Pro, like the GameCube and Switch did, or whatever it was. The Wii and Switch.
Oh, that would be interesting.
That would make me excited about it.
Would you buy a Switch Pro?
No. I mean, probably, but I'll say no now, but I probably would.
Okay. That'll be your hardware purchase of 2023.
That's right. That'll be my big console purchase.
There you go. Okay. Well, what did we miss? What did we not talk about? What did we miss? What do you guys know that we are going to be excited for that we didn't put on our list? Because, we put this list together kind of like right before the show. We kind of think about it. But like, if we were really like thinking about it, we would build this list over time. So I'm sure we missed something. I'm sure there's something out there that we didn't think about. And, whatever. If or let us know what you are excited about that we should be excited about, maybe. I don't know. There's a whole kind of 2023. Maybe we'll do a check-in kind of halfway through the year and see how it goes. Maybe we'll do, what we could do, Chris, is when we do this episode next year, I have a great idea. We're going to have a lot of like end of year episodes. We could do like a review of the 2023, like an exit interview for 2023. And then we could do our year in spend for 2023. And then we could do our 2020. Oh man, we got so many episodes for the end of the year. We're just going to be jam packed for the end of the year. But anyway, let us know what we missed. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know what you're excited for. And you can do all of that by, just chatting with us in Discord, which you can get to at discord.pnapodcast.com.
If you want to find any of our older episodes or read our show notes, we're going to try to put a lot of links to the things that we talked about today. A lot of these kind of upcoming games have little landing pages and stuff. So we'll get those put in there. You can find those in the show notes, which are available on our website, which is pnapodcast.com. That's P, the letter N, the letter A, podcast.com.
If you're enjoying Pride and Accomplishment and the podcast, we would love to grow it a little bit in 2023. So if you could just share this episode or the podcast with someone that you think might enjoy it as well, that would be awesome.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll talk to you next time.
So Chris,
Yes.
last we heard, I think you had purchased your 4090.
Yes, I did. I finally, after much searching and watching stock drops and all sorts of things, had managed to get one within like $10 of its MSRP, which was still a little bit more expensive than the Founders Edition. But either way, I got a Gigabyte 4090 with it's in like an overclock version, which I don't really care about, but whatever. I ordered it on Newegg. I got it. It was fine. I took the box out of the box it shipped in, and it was massive. Like just the box, not even the thing. And I think the box itself was bigger than my PS5.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, so then I finally opened the thing and I look at it and I'm like, oh boy, this thing is humongous. And fortunately, I already kind of knew that this was going to be a problem. So I had actually purchased a brand new case for my tower, because the NZXT like H5 or H500 or whatever tower that I had physically would not fit this thing. Like, I think I sent you a picture. Like, the graphics card itself was like taller than the tower. So like it would not have fit in there. So I got a Corsair 5000D airflow case, which is like got like little vent holes all over it and stuff, and lots of places for fans, which is really cool. And I went about like rebuilding my computer, like transferring the motherboard. I fortunately didn't have to take the CPU off, but like moving the motherboard over, I got a new power supply because I needed a more powerful power supply. So I now have a 1000-watt power supply instead of the like 650 or something that I had before. And then I went to go put all this stuff together, and I realized that like the power supply cables were almost too short, which was a real problem. So I got some like power supply cord extensions, and then that I kind of didn't end up using because I got impatient and I made it work. And I got some more fans because this thing has lots of space for fans. And I was like, well, I'm going to put a 4090 in it. So of course it's going to be throwing off heat like crazy. So I'm going to need lots of fans. Spoiler, I'm not a pro enough gamer to make that really happen very much, but that's fine. And then I got to the point where I finally like opened up the card and got ready to put it on the motherboard. And this thing is an absolute unit. Like, it is humongous.
Hearing you say absolute unit is funny.
Yeah, well, here we are. Hello, fellow kids.
So are you... Oh god, maybe kids from 10 years ago. Fine. So are you rocking the 4090 at this point?
Hello, fellow millennials. I am running the 4090. It came with like, I'm running with it. It's great. Like it chews up everything I've thrown at it. I'm only gaming in 1440p, but now I can set every single game to run it like G-synced 144 frames per second, and it like doesn't even blink, which is really fun. Like, it's really like when you get a new GPU and you can just like max out all the settings by default and not even think about it. Like, that's super fun for me. I've like run a few benchmarks, and the benchmarks are like, you know, amazing, of course. Because this thing has 24 gig of graphics memory.
It's almost as much. Yeah, it's almost
32
as much RAM
gig of system memory. Like, I could put an entire game in the RAM of the graphics card. It's crazy. So like it's really cool and it's really fun, and it works really well. It actually doesn't draw that much power. Like I've monitored it with like, you know, monitoring software or whatever. And like I have this fancy power supply that actually has like a little USB C port on it so that you can like plug into it and see the like real time how much wattage it's delivering to each one of the different rails in the power supply, and like how much input voltage or input wattage it's taking and all that kind of stuff. It's really cool. Like it's really neat to be able to see kind of like, oh, am I anywhere close to the 1,000-watt headroom of this thing? And when I crank it up and I'm doing like, you know, big 3D Mark benchmarks on it and stuff like that, I can get it to draw like 400 watts, which is, you know, up there in terms of like what it's supposed to draw. But in general, like if I'm just playing like my normal games and stuff, it's only using like 200 watts or something like that. It's pretty reasonable, and it's got this humongous heat sink on it, so it runs really cool.
Its thing was not that it normally drew a lot of power, right? But it could spike. Wasn't that the whole thing with these graphics card now, is that they can spike for a short period of time?
Yeah, I mean they can do that, but it's all related on to like how much heat they can dissipate and stuff like that. So it seems to be doing fine, and it can spike up pretty well, and it can maintain, I think. It's got 3 fans on it, so it's like one of those. I'm used to blower style graphics cards where it blows out the back, but this one has like the 3 fans mounted on the underside of the graphics card, basically. It takes up like the entire bottom half of the case. Like, you have the CPU and the heatsink for the CPU, and then you have I know I keep talking about how huge this thing is, but it's just so massive that I can't, like, that is the primary like feature of this thing, is it's just big.
Its primary feature is its size.
Not
the 24 gigabytes of RAM, not that it is amazingly powerful. It's just the size.
It's so big. It has it came with this L bracket that you actually like unscrewed the screws of your motherboard for, and like put the L bracket underneath the screws of the motherboard and screwed it into the case. And then it has the L sticks out, and there's like this little thumb screw thing to hold the end of the graphics card because it's so heavy.
Oh my God.
So it doesn't put too much strain on the PCIe slot. Like, it's crazy. Which is really nice. Like, a lot of these kind of graphics cards will actually come with like a silly little stand that you have to like put in the case and like jack it up. It's almost like a car jack, where you like, it's like a little foot that you stick underneath the GPU. So I was actually happy that this one had the screwed on kind of I don't know, support beam, if you will. But I will say, in general, I'm very happy with it. It is doing a very good job. I did run Forza Horizon 5 at ultra settings with all the ray tracing maxed out, and it looks amazing. Turned on nighttime shadows for headlights and all the stuff that's off by default. And I was just like, no, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. And
that's cool.
It does great. The problem that I have actually is that I can't turn the settings all the way up on WoW, of all things.
What?
Because it starts to be CPU bound and client lag. If I turn the draw distance all the way up and turn the graphics all the way up and everything else in WoW, it starts to be chunky because I think it's mostly single threaded and it just can't keep up.
All right. Well, that's next.
I know it's absolutely a give a mouse a cookie situation. It started off with the case and the power supply. It's going to be the CPU next, but I'm going to try to get this to last a little while before I get there, because it's not the end of the world, and I just kind of want to see what's going on. But I will probably go back in the Intel direction next time. I don't know.
Interesting. Okay. Well, maybe we can talk about that, because I don't know what I'm going to do next.
It always depends. It's always a point in time decision. Whenever, I was thinking I might get an AMD card, and then the NVIDIA stuff was just
those 3D AMD cards, man. That are chips. Those 3DX AMD chips.
The AMD CPUs. Yeah, I know they could.
Those are calling my name.
Those could work nicely, actually. We'll see. That might be, maybe if they don't announce the Switch Pro, I could look into a CPU upgrade.
I love it. I love it. I love it.